BBC2 presents Lloyd Cole Knew My Father.
Hello, great to be back in Cleveland. My name is Andrew Collins.
My name is Stuart Maconie.
And my name is David Quantick. And welcome to Lloyd Cole Knew My Father, the final part of our personal jaunt through the history of rock. We're assisted in our quest for half-truths and slander by real-life actress Amelia Bulmore.
And writer.
Don't build your part.
My biggest claim to fame was being invited on stage by Bon Jovi when they played Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, that was just to move some heavy boxes, though, that were littering the stage, wasn't it?
Jealous.
My biggest claim to fame was that I once had to phone up Marky Smith at the Fall and ask him some questions about Christmas for the NME. What are you doing for Christmas? Are you getting any presents? Instead of being a proper musician and phoning me back with the answers, he didn't. I later found out that he'd actually used the tape, and this is true, as a walk-on tape for his band The Fall's concert. Rock and roll.
My biggest claim to fame also concerns Marky Smith of the Fall, who once said, oddly, "You know, Stuart, as I never told you, you've got a bit of a look of MC Hammer."
So what have we learned? Well, very little, I'd say, in the last 5 weeks, but we have learned that fame, especially the kind earned by having your answer phone message used as walk-on music by a dodgy northern band, is a fickle mistress.
Yes, pop music has changed beyond recognition since the days of Mel Torme, who you may know was called the Velvet Fog, or, and this is serious, as the Guardian obituary described him, the Velvet Frog. But one thing remains true. The charts are dictated by teenagers who change their minds a lot. The tastes of the teenage consumer are as changeable as Paul Weller.
Paul Weller?
The changing man.
Yes, and how very apt that song title is for the man who has been wearing the same shirt since 1976.
Do you want to fight, Dave?
What, with you?
No, with Paul Weller when I tell him what you just said about him.
Oh, what's he going to do? Whip me to death with those long bits of hair he's got for you? Ooh, I'm really scared of Mr. If you come and see my gig, I might do a slow version of A Town Called Malice.
Anyway, did I mention that fame was a fickle mistress? This week, to take up a hypothetical example, of course, all the teenage girls in the audience are into, say, Andrew. But next week, he'll be washed up, spat out, forgotten, and the very same teenage mob who are outside right now holding up handwritten boards saying, "Have my babies AC," will be screaming for, say, Dave.
Well, Dave? Dave wears glasses.
Yeah, it's just hypothetical, obviously.
Yeah, that's my favourite Take That song. It only takes a minute girl.
Take that. 5 years ago, they were the pop world's biggest teen sensation. 5 lads from the north of England. Now, who can even name them?
Gary Barlow, Robbie Williams, Mark Owen, Jason Orange, Howard Donald.
Sure, me neither. I've forgotten them already.
Alan something.
Yeah.
Who cares?
They've been replaced twice over. First by the Irish Take That Boyzone, and then by the Irish Boyzone Westlife, who've now had 32 consecutive number ones, beating off Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Beating off Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Where'd you read that?
Heat.
It must be true. You know, I hope those kids in Westlife have invested their money wisely in fast cars, drugs, and night ladies. It's a word. Because by next week, I warn you, Westlife, as Shakespeare's sister once said, you're history.
Anyway, never mind. Thousands upon thousands of teenage girls want to have sex with Andrew and Westlife. They travel everywhere in stretchy limousines. They have more money than sense, if you ask me. But
But what?
Westlife are not a real group. It's true. Westlife are not a real group, not like the Rolling Stones or the Happy Mondays or At the Drive-In.
no, because we all know about teen sensations. New Kids on the Block, Bros, Spice Girls 5, Hearsay, Wombles. They were all manufactured by evil, bloated, cigar-sucking Svengalis.
The individual members of Westlife, like all transient teen sensations before them, were assembled from 10th-rate drama schools, a disparate, interchangeable bunch of child actors and chimney sweeps, plucked from obscurity for a few short weeks in the limelight.
You're reading that?
Yes, a tantalising glimpse of success for which they will ultimately see no actual profit, only frustration, lifelong physical disfigurement, drug addiction, misery, depression, hair loss, and ultimately, death.
But worse than that, They have to pretend to be mates with pop columnists from the tabloids.
Yes, and here are some people you'd rather be mates with than pop columnists from the tabloids.
Courtney Love.
Nigel Mansell.
Bowser, the fire-breathing end-of-level monster in Super Mario Land.
The individual members of Westlife are carefully marketed as ordinary blokes, which is why they all hold two fingers up behind each other's heads on Saturday morning telly and have ordinary names like Brian.
Yeah, it worked for Take That, even though they were all called Alan.
Take That fans were called Thatties. These devoted youngsters all dressed identically to Take That, carried oranges with them at all times, and hated E17 fans with a vengeance.
East 17 fans were called Seventeenies, an equally devout order who revered the postcode monikered East London Quintet and were committed to destroying all thatties.
Hot kettle. This is a bit like forming a huge gang of people who favour the conventional Qualcast Concord lawnmower, but go round shouting abuse over the fence at neighbours who use a hover mower. But I mean, take, for example, Bad Boys Inc. They must have had Take That quaking in their pixie boots when they were unveiled. Why didn't they just call themselves Crap Take That?
And what must their evil, fat, cigar-sucking Svengali figure be like? Not that evil, not especially fat, smokes roll-ups, probably. Presumably he's the same impresario figure behind the singing careers of Eddie the Eagle Edwards, Mr. Blobby, and Tommy Walsh of Ground Force.
But it is at this point that we must pay tribute to the world's greatest manufactured pop group, the Monkees, assembled from an audition of 437 young hopefuls to star in a psychedelic sitcom in 1965. The Monkees were as big as the Beatles within 2 years without writing their own material or playing on any of their records.
Or putting their arm around one of the 3am girls.
Yeah. Here then are 4 facts about the Monkees which are absolutely true.
Trust us.
1. Davy Jones used to be a jockey.
2. Mickey Dolenz went on to produce the 80s kids' TV comedy Metal Mickey about a disco-crazed robot with Irene Handel in it.
3. Mike Nesmith's mum invented Tipp-Ex.
And 4. Peter Tork could hold his breath for up to 45 days.
Trust Dave to ruin it, eh, kids? Why don't you do the one about Charles Manson auditioning for the Monkees?
Because it's not true. It's a myth, like the so-called fact that Keith Richards regularly gets his blood changed in a Swiss clinic, or that Bob Dylan faked his own motorcycle crash at the end of the 60s because he'd run out of lyrics. Or, famously, that Bob Holness played the saxophone bit at the start of Baker Street.
Bob Holness played the saxophone at the start of Baker Street. I'm going to go and text all my mates.
The only person with as much authority as the bloated, cigar-sucking Svengali is the tour manager. They are the manager only, as the name suggests, when on tour. The rest of the time, they're just a fat man in an Emerson, Lake and Powell Low Countries 1988 tour T-shirt. And because tour managers spend so much time passing through foreign countries at the rate of 3 in a day, they speak a sort of weird tour manager Esperanto, which they use to get money out of venue bosses as far apart as Bilbao and Reykjavik.
Hola, Fritz. Où est la dinero? 9-9, mon ami. Vous owe us 5,000 euros, ja? Wir haben nicht stolen pas, your fruit machine, senor. Esta clanad.
Tour managers always write incredibly complicated tour itineraries on their laptops, which look like this.
Today is June the 2nd. We are in Boston, Massachusetts. Gig takes place at Boston Riddler Club. Soundcheck 4 p.m, doors 7 p.m.
Wow, man, we like supporting the Doors.
Every band in the world thinks they're the first to make the "we're supporting the Doors" joke. The tour itinerary also contains bits of local information that might be useful.
Warning, washing your hair is illegal on Sundays in Lisbon. Also, the local word for donkey is beer, so watch out.
Tour managers have one other important function. They're in charge of the PDs. Now, PD stands for per diem, which is Latin for per day and refers to the pocket money the band are paid on a daily basis. It also means that every band in the world knows one piece of Latin. Now, if a band was at home, they'd probably spend their PDs on reasonably sensible things like groceries or raw plugs or the phone bill. But they're not at home, they're on the road, and so their options are limited.
Yes, when you're on the road, there's biff all to buy, basically. This is because you get up, you get in a coach, you get out of the coach, you go on stage, and you get back in the coach. Not much fun. Hence, the only place you will get to spend your money is at the venue, where the only things you can buy are T-shirts with your band name on. And even drummers get those free.
The other place you can shop is the truck stop, or if you're in Britain, the motorway service station. These are two fundamentally different things.
Truck stops are marvellous redneck fairylands. You can buy hominy grits, whatever they are, fajitas, baseball caps that say, keep America free, kill a liberal, lighters, lighters shaped like guns, guns shaped like lighters, and bumper stickers that say, what would Jesus do? Or my favourite, what would Scooby do?
Whereas, at motorway service stations, you can buy a small tin of barley sugars with a picture of a West Highland Terrier on the front, or an inflatable neck rest pillow.
Yeah, and this is the real reason why Elvis never toured Britain.
But these days we live in a world of high tech, a world not even Kraftwerk could have imagined in their wildest dreams.
She's a model and she's looking good.
Carl! Ralph! Breakfast is ready.
So sleepy. Oh, good morning.
Oh, you boys look so tired.
Oh, yes.
How did you sleep last night?
Oh, I had the wildest dream. It was so crazy. I dreamt that in the future, music would come in the form of small silver discs that could not be scratched. And they would still play if you got jam on them or scratched them with your metal knife.
That's nothing. I had a wild dream too. In the future, you can send messages with a keyboard down a telephone line, and you can listen to music, and you can book tickets, and you can see a picture of Moira Stewart's head on the body of a rude lady.
Oh, that's nothing. In my dream, I was back at school, except I didn't have any trousers on.
Okay, fun's over. Let's go and write a song about a train.
At home with Kraftwerk there.
Now it's time for our special musical guest who, like Kraftwerk, only writes about trains and bicycles and computers and models, lives in Germany and has a dummy representing when he plays on stage. I'm sorry I'm wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, the fantastic Ian Mcnabb.
Thank you.
What's the matter with you? What are you trying to prove? Are you scared that no one likes you? Scared they won't approve? You grew up in a fever, grew up in a fight. You never left home except to bury bones. Now you're out here every night. You wanna be all things to everyone, all things to everyone. There'll be no rest, and the work ain't done till you're all things to everyone. Heard about your mother, heard about your dad, heard about the fire, heard that you were glad. Must have made you crazy, must have tore you up. You hated everything in the world at once. Now you're trying to make it up. You're gonna be all things to everyone, all things to everyone. And you still believe that a change will come when you're all things to everyone. I can tell you something about someone I knew who looked for all the the answers. He might have found a few. He learned to leave his hatred, learned to stop his pain. He looked into himself and to no one else, and he learned to love again. Stop trying to be all things to everyone, all things to everyone. People die trying to fly so high, trying to be all things to everyone, all things to everyone, all things to everyone. Just be yourself and the dream will come. You'll never be all things to everyone. Thank you. Thank you, folks. I've been requested to do this song, and it requires a little bit of image. I get chills, they're multiplying, and I'm losing control, because the power you're supplying is electrifying. You better shape up, 'cause I need a man, and my heart is set on you. You better shape up, you better understand. Nothing left for me to do. You're the one that I want. Ooh, you're the one that I want. Mama, you know it is. Ooh, you're the one that I want. Ooh, yes indeed. You're the one that I need. You're the one that I want. And I can't conceive of being without you. You're the one that I want.
Mcnabb. He wrote that, you know.
Because of advances in technology, just as sometimes it was hard for the late, great Tammy Wynette to be a woman, these days it's hard for pop lovers to be a fan. This is because, as your parents will tell you,
everything's too expensive nowadays.
That's right, and
If the wind changes, you'll stay like that.
I want to stay like this. I'm 41.
You're no son of mine.
Anyway. Even more of a con than CDs for the pop lover are festivals.
festivals, which can be summed up by this famous soundbite from the album Woodstock.
Which was itself based on the movie Woodstock.
Which was itself based on the festival, Woodstock.
Which was itself based on the farm Woodstock.
Which was itself based on Snoopy's tiny friend, Woodstock.
Oh, look, Stuart's gone too far. Anyway, here's that famous line from Woodstock, which in my view sums up the very essence of the old school festival.
To get back to the warning that I've received, you may take it with however many grains of salt you wish, that the brown acid that is circulating around us is not specifically too good. It's suggested that you do stay away from that. Of course, it's your own trip, so be my guest, but please be advised that there is a warning on that one, okay?
That was all a long time ago, though. The brown acid has worn off.
Speak for yourself.
All the flares have been sold to top loader. The litter has all been picked up. Joe Cocker's remembered where he parked his car. Now, festivals are very different occasions. No longer does Mick Jagger release Butterflies in the Air, quoting Shelley.
No, he still does that.
No longer does Mark Bolan sit cross-legged singing acoustic ditties about elves and Prince Namor the Submariner.
Well, he's dead. They'd have to prop him up.
Yes, and that's my point. Those days are over. Once festivals were called stuff like the Happening Love Be-In and Middle-earth Pie. Nowadays, the modern festival is more likely to be called VO2 or K185 or THX1138 and be sponsored by Ear Cancer Net mobile phones.
Yeah, or it's like the army, and like you need a direct debit before you even go in, and the man controls everything you even think when you get there.
Yeah, and the toilets are really clean and there's ample car parking and prices are reasonable.
Yeah.
That's if you're a member of the public, though. If you're a music journalist, like we've been claiming to be for some time, festivals are work. Reviewing a festival is a military operation. It requires organisation, planning, and teams of writers and photographers working round the clock in shifts, by which I mean periods of time, not those kind of aprony dresses, obviously. None of which explains why the NME commissioned David and Andrew to review the entire 1991 Glastonbury Festival on their own. All 3 days, 15 stages, 25 fields, 6 healing tents, 75 bands, 32 jugglers, and a didgeridoo man on stilts. All reviewed by 2 people.
One of whom drank all the levellers' Pims.
Yes, it's true.
Anne was supposed to conduct interviews with bands and punters around the site, but instead, the entire taped contribution to the piece by David, when played back, consisted of him drunkenly haranguing the editor of the NME about its coverage of Bob Seger.
All right, but I did see Scott Walker.
Who wasn't actually playing Glastonbury that weekend.
It's hard being a music fan, which is what this series has been all about. Whether you're a journalist, hobnobbing with Morrissey and trying hard not to go, look at me, I'm standing next to Morrissey, somebody take a picture. Or someone queuing up for tickets for the first night of the Lindsay DePaul Monsters of Rock tour.
Yes. Whether you're Bono from 80s band U2, or a struggling musician standing at the bottom of an escalator singing Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses to 3 Italian tourists, we're all fans.
Yes, and it's tough being a fan. Having to buy all those formats. Being charged £100 for a Groove Armada mouse mat.
Being really excited about the fact that Radiohead and Beck share the same producer, Nigel Godrich, even though no one else cares, including Nigel Godrich.
And worst of all, having people at parties say to you, gosh, I bet you've got a lot of CDs.
And now, the end is near, and so we face the final countdown.
No, stop that!
We're going to end like every music paper ends with the letters page. The letters page is where music journalists and readers, and sometimes even pop stars, interact.
Yes, and every music journalist knows that he or she, all right, he, has made it when he is asked to edit the letters page.
Edit means this. Take the big old smelly cardboard box full of letters and crappy postcards into a smelly room and type some of them out.
Now, let's not make this sound too mundane, Dave. A mundane NME office task like refilling the A4 tray on the photocopier or collecting up the syringes. Editing the letters page means you've made it. Mere weeks ago, you were writing to the NME and getting slagged off by the letters editor. Now, you're the letters editor. You've got the power, as Snap featuring Turbo B once sang. It works in much the same way that passing your driving test transforms you from Reginald Mole Husband into Mad Max Road Warrior.
Now, ideally, in any magazine, the letters page should be a forum for debate, a place where reader and writer alike can meld minds, a bit like Mr. Spock used to on Star Trek. It's a space for reasoned argument, with perhaps the odd bit of waspish badinage thrown in. It's very much the Algonquin round table of the paper.
I wonder if anyone agrees with me that the new Travis album sounds merely like the Flying Burrito Brothers on acid.
I wonder if, like me, anyone here has considered the proposition that if all the members of Atomic Kitten were laid end to end, I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised.
Very good. Do you know, only the other day, I was listening to that song, No Limits by 2 Unlimited, and as I was perusing the libretto, it occurred to me that a more appropriate wordage for the song might be, no, 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 there's no lyrics.
That is very good.
The Electric Light Orchestra. Electric Shite Orchestra, more like.
Julie Birchill there. But it's not like that at all. In fact, you'll quickly learn whatever the music publication, there are pretty much basically only 5 letters.
1.
Optimistic and lazy student.
Hi, I'm a media studies student. I'm doing my thesis on the relationship between pop music and the media. Could you send me all the information you have on pop music and the media? I also require slides, CDs, posters, autographs, pie charts, and the home phone numbers of Des O'Connor, Joe Wiley, and Linda Barker off changing rooms. When I finish my thesis, please be assured I will not send you a copy or credit you in any way at all. Furthermore, should I ever chance upon you in the street, and thanks to some freak mishap you are on fire, the fly on my army trousers will remain resolutely zipped. Cheers.
2. Mad person.
I am the Perspex god of Valhalla. And I can see into you all with my special third eye. Please would you forward this to Van Morrison? I need to contact him urgently because I have some of his cormorants and chessmen in my head.
I have enclosed a self-addressed envelope for prompt reply.
3. Lonely hearts.
Hi, my name's Dom. I'm dying to get in touch with a girl I met at Dudley JB's a couple of weeks ago. I was the one shouting all the wrong lyrics to Fool's Gold in her ear and really frightening her. She left quite quickly without leaving me a name or phone number, and I'd love to get in touch with her. P.S. I have enclosed some little silver stars.
4. Cheery foreigner.
Hello, I am Boy 14, also Swedish. I'm reading NME now since 9 months. I like Pulp, Blur, Vines, Hives, Barclay James Harvest, and also Lush and Johnny Hayes Jazz. Me too. Call or write me above, especially if girl.
And, of course, there is the most popular type of letter of all.
The letter of complaint.
Yes, I think it was the 18th century French wit and philosopher Voltaire who famously said,
I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it.
But that's enough philosophy. We leave you with one of the all-time great rock anecdotes, or we think so anyway. It's Viv Stanshall and Keith Moon go shopping.
Vivian Stanshall, the lead singer of Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, was one of rock music's most inveterate pranksters, and never more so than when he was in the company of Keith Moon, Moon the Loon of The Who, his sparring partner and oppo. And never more so indeed than the day they went out in Savile Row looking for the strongest pair of corduroy trousers in the shop. Enter Vivian Stanshall in disguise. Ah, my good man, I wonder if you could furnish me with the strongest pair of your corduroy trousers.
Certainly, sir.
Off goes the shopkeeper to get the corduroy trousers. He returns with a pair that Viv looks none too pleased with.
Try these, sir.
Ah, these look rather flimsy to me. At this point, enter Keith Moon in disguise.
Dig-eye, Chavy, it's a mud-town slosher.
I wonder if I could prevail upon you, my good man, to help me test these trousers. I need some very strong corduroy trousers. This gentleman here tells me these are the strongest he has, but they look a tad flimsy to me. Care to help me test them?
Dig-eye, Chavy, it's a mud-town slosher. Of course I will.
And so, taking a leg each, they tug and tug and tug, testing the trousers, until, eventually, the inevitable happens. At which point, enter a third accomplice, a one-legged man.
Who said, I've been looking for some trousers like that all afternoon. I'll take both pairs.
Thank you, Cleveland. It's been a great tour. Lloyd Cole knew our father. Good night.
Lloyd Cole Knew My Father was written and performed by Andrew Collins, Stuart Maconie and David Quantick, with special guests Amelia Bulmore and Ian Mcnabb. The producer was Lucy Armitage.
My cue, they brought me down to